There's this strange moment in tennis where you suddenly realize you're actually not a bad tennis player. You're getting quite consistent, you can hit the ball deep, you got good tactics, you're pretty solid, you're able to win matches even when you're not necessarily playing your best. And yet somehow it's not quite as satisfying as it was before. So the question is, why is it that tennis actually feels harder just when you feel like you're starting to get better? Now, I've kind of just thought to myself that this is a bit like you're in the middle ground. You're no longer a beginner, you've gone even past intermediate stage, but you're not yet a really advanced player. You're consistent, but you're not quite dangerous enough to be able to say, I can step on court and pretty much beat anyone who lines up. You can beat most club players. You're even starting to win quite easily against people who are playing a certain level of tournaments. But then there are these people you look at who you feel like they can actually really play this game. Doesn't matter what comes at them, they seem to be able to deal with that. And you think to yourself, I'm not able to really challenge them. If we're talking numbers, I think this is probably people on the UTR who are around a 7 or an 8. Or on the NTRP, it's probably a 4 to a 4.5. Maybe people are edging up towards 5, probably not really getting there just yet. You're not a beginner, but you're not going to really classify yourself as a real player. There still feels like there's so much you really want to be able to work on to get to the point where you can step on court, you don't have to think, and it truly becomes effortless. In short, you're somewhere in between, and it can actually start to feeling a bit like purgatory. You could also maybe look at this as you reach kind of a false summit. You kind of thought, I'm going to get to that point, I'm going to start winning those matches, and you think that that's the peak and you're going to get there and you'll feel like, I'm there. And then you get there and all of a sudden you realize there's another summit again. Maybe you're starting to go in and for a certain level of player, you're winning really, really easily. You're putting in 6-love, 6-1s, or in fast 4, you're putting in 4-love and 4-1 sets. Even when you kind of feel to yourself, I'm not actually playing that well, I'm just able to do more than most players. And in those situations, you kind of feel like you're winning, but the reward disappears because you haven't really had to work for it. But now when you take the next step up, you actually start to realize that there's quite a big divide. What you also might start to notice is that when you go from sort of beginner to intermediate, you can improve really quite quickly because there's quite dramatic changes you can make to your game that dramatically change your game. When you start getting to sort of this middle ground level, the tweaks become smaller and smaller, and it feels like changes have less of a big impact and they take now longer to implement and build up and make really solid. In reality, I think what you're getting to is a big reality check. Tennis gets real. Essentially, you've gone along probably playing at club level, maybe playing a few friends, having battles, and you haven't really realized that actually the level of tennis you've been playing has been good fun, it's been decent, but it's just not been great. And all of a sudden it feels like you've woken up, seen how tennis really is, realizing you can step on court with those people who you consider to be really great players, and you feel like you're learning tennis all over again. And what's the real difference when you start playing these players? Well, these sorts of players, it seems like they never miss. They absolutely punish you on short balls, and you're no longer able just to rely on consistency or having big weapons that fire sometimes and you fill in the gaps maybe with the other person's errors. And it's funny because you actually need quite a mental shift, which is to say, to keep improving, it's not just about fixing your mistakes and becoming consistent. You've actually really got to start developing weapons. When you have the opportunity to attack and use one of your strengths, you must use it. Otherwise, you're going to lose the opportunity against these really great players. It could be before you were happy to just trade cross court because the other person really wasn't going to punish if you left a big space down the line. Now you've actually got to think, how do I open up the spaces? And when I open them up, how do I exploit them, attack them, and build patterns that are going to lead to me winning the point versus forcing that other person into an error? Now, this could sound quite negative, almost like, oh, I've been having fun and now it's not so much fun. Isn't this the point where I just say, okay, go and do something else? Actually, this is just a plateau. But if you think about it, it's like a plateau where you've climbed halfway up a mountain, you've reached this plateau, and then you've reached this wall and you realize there's another peak to come. And who knows, there's probably 10 more peaks up there after 10 more plateaus. The point is, I think what you do, you stop just going on court and playing a game of tennis. Now it really requires you to start understanding the game. I could also, if I want to give some words of encouragement to myself, because frankly I feel like I've hit one of those points, you could actually say some words of encouragement, which are, it's actually good, because what you're feeling, what I'm feeling, is a bit of frustration. And that's good because it actually means I'm painfully aware that yes, I've become better, but there's plenty more I've still got to work on. I would say this is the beauty of this sport. There is always something to work on. No doubt, in a couple of weeks, in a month, in 6 months, I'll say, fantastic, look how much I've improved again. Then I'll probably hit another plateau. Maybe that's when I start doing well at, let's say, grade 4 tournaments. But also what I could do kind of like about it is I could just hang around in grade 5s, start putting lots of wins in, picking up more tournament wins, and I could just say, well, look at me, and I get that basic kind of dopamine hit through saying, I've got some wins. I'm not really interested in that. What I'm really interested by is actually mastering this game of tennis to the best of my ability. That seems to be more of the reward now. But of course, I do still want to keep winning, but I want to win when I had to really, really fight for it. Some things that I know I'm going to have to change. My practice has already started to become way more intentional. We're starting to do a lot more drilling and practicing things. I'm going to have to ramp that up and really start saying, what is it I need to practice, and then treat hitting sessions to really focus on those things versus just a good old chance to smack the ball around. I really am going to have to track my patterns and my mistakes and start working on those so that I can build these patterns of play that really work. But also, I'm going to keep having to try and find people who I can play regularly who beat me so that I can continuously be challenged by people who are going to punish me for basically not playing good patterns, even if I am very consistent. And frankly, it's to learn to enjoy the small wins. Tennis is going to get even harder. Winning is going to get harder. And so actually, if there are small wins in there, because I'm going to go through probably a period of losing matches now as I try and play better people, I've got to take from that to say, actually, have I become a better player? Am I executing on my strategies, my patterns, and using the things I've been learning? And do I feel like I'm playing a better game of tennis? In some ways, I'd rather lose and play better tennis than play a rubbish game of tennis and win. So I suppose you could argue, if we call this the middle ground of tennis, it almost sounds like it could be a dead end, but it's anything but. It's a bridge to arguably what you could call real tennis, if there is such a thing. Question is though, how long do you have to stay here? How long is it going to take before you can cross over to the next side? The answer is, nobody knows. It depends. And that's kind of part of the journey, isn't it? So in conclusion, and actually, isn't it good to talk? Because I already feel a little bit better having realized that I think I've hit this zone of I need to transition to basically trying to become, frankly, a very good tennis player. Right now, I would say I'm good, but I'm nowhere near great. It's nice because what it makes me realize is that being in this zone of where I feel good, it actually means I've outgrown easy tennis. I've no desire for that anymore. It also encourages me to keep going because you know what? I've seen myself improve incrementally, and if it goes at a snail's pace, I don't care. If I can see myself get better, and now I can start hitting with better and better people where I know that actually, I think there's a next level up, maybe when you get to a UTR of 9, or even if I should get up to a 10, I think that would be a challenge. I think around that level, any tennis you're playing is gonna be some really, really good tennis. And arguably, I think the next level of this is not about talent. It's gonna be about hard work. It's gonna be about putting in time, and it's gonna be having the right intentions. So drop a comment if this resonates at all. Again, isn't it funny how as you get better, it actually feels like it gets even harder? Love to hear your thoughts.